I don't fully feel done. Like, I don't feel satisfied that Andrew Wiggins, this is just it. This is who he is, and that's who he is now for the rest of our lives, and we can all move on. Sounds like some of you are taking that as I'd like to trade Jonathan Kuminga. I don't know how many different times I need to say this week that I hope the Warriors don't trade Jonathan Kuminga. I would like them to not. But it also sounds like they're going to make a deal, and I don't know what deal is out there. The Warriors probably want to trade Andrew. The league wants them to trade Jonathan. What do?
You trade Andrew.
For what?
For whatever you can get.
And what if that's not interesting?
Then you keep Andrew and you try again in the offseason.
Okay.
Because if you trade Andrew and what you can get back is not satisfactory or not impactful to what you want to do this year, which is win a championship, and we all know you want to maximize the Steph Curry window. So keeping that at the forefront of everything, you shop Andrew, and if what you get back is not good enough to help you this year to win and do what you need to do, you keep Andrew. You're not trading Jonathan. In this hypothetical, you're keeping Jonathan. Now, it's possible that the Warriors don't feel about Kuminga the way that we feel about Kuminga. It's possible the Warriors see Kuminga as flawed and not at the absolute peak of what we all think that Jonathan Kuminga could be.
I think they like him.
But we don't know. I mean, we hear what we hear,
yeah.
And we heard Steve Kerr yesterday on our show say, I think that Andrew Wiggins has been playing really well lately, which many people hear that and they think, you got to be bleeping me because Andrew Wiggins has not been playing very well. But that's Steve looking at things from a coach's eye and also trying to keep his value as high as possible. So when you say, we love Jonathan Kuminga and we think he's going to be this and he's going to be that, that also keeps his value sky high.
I think not only do they like Jonathan Kuminga, I think there's something else attached to it, which is almost PR. It's certainly related to PR. It's not a great organizational look or feel to continually have first-round draft picks and then dump them. It's just not a great look. So when you go from, and I know Jordan Poole was a late first-rounder, but from Jordan Poole's situation, the James Wiseman situation, and then if you end up trading Kuminga and Moody 2 minutes after the two of them or their representatives start squawking about playing time, it's a bad look.
You know the last first-round pick the Warriors have made and kept? Do you know who that is?
Made and kept the last first-round pick. Are you going to say Klay Thompson?
No, it's Kevon Looney.
Kevon Looney. There you go.
Podziemski, so far so good. Patrick Baldwin, 2022 first-round pick, gone. Kuminga and Moody, so far kept.
We'll see.
Wiseman in 2020, gone. Poole in 2019, gone. Jacob Evans in 2018, gone. Damian Jones in 2016, gone. And these are all late.
Those were championship run first rounders. They do, but but nobody was putting the future tag on any of those players.
No, but to your point, and it just when you said that, it had me thinking like, wow, you're right. Organizationally, you don't want that to be your MO.
Totally.
And you go back to Kevon. They've kept him. Harrison Barnes in 2012 was the last one before that. They kept him for a while. He won a chip. And then he's been gone. But
I think there's a morale issue there. Like, I honestly think if they got into a Kuminga trade conversation here in the next 3 weeks, I just feel like behind closed doors there would be such a high level of discomfort of like, really, we're doing it again. We're going to dump another first rounder and pour it into the big three. I mean, I'm all.
What does Steph think?
Well, I mean, I don't know what he thinks.
Right.
I think he probably wants a move. I think it's lessening in relevance with each minute what Steph thinks.
Based on their record?
Well, yeah. Remember, he was the one who said to Steiny and Goo, he did that interview late in the year, last year. And he was the one, like, he understands this. If you don't win, you don't get to go tell the front office anything. You don't get to tell them what they're going to do. Now, it's one thing to lose in the second round. You be bopping around here at the halfway point with a losing record, hey, zip it. And Steph doesn't need to say it anyway. It's not like they're moving on from him. And I don't think that moving on from any of the big three is on the table at all. Now, people think that means that I think that, no, there's still this championship core any second now. I don't think that at all. But I do think the Warriors are still intent on building around them. And that means other key players. And they'd like that to now be Jonathan Kuminga. And it's closer to that than it was 2 months ago. It's not close enough. And Andrew Wiggins was that 2 years ago, and now he's not. And the question is, can he ever be again? None of us know. But I am really stuck on why. Like, these aren't questions that we ask for two reasons. One, we can't get the answer.
Right.
And two, we don't really have an informed opinion about what is going on with him. They do. And I wonder if the Warriors are like, yeah, we got to get out from underneath this, or if they're like, how are they still working to access what they had once upon a time?
Right. For that brief moment.
It wasn't that brief.
I'm looking at his season, his 2021-22 season. He had a nice year.
Cheers. I'm listening.
Okay. I didn't know if it was like a sponsored bit, because normally when we crack one open, it's it's the Wednesday. Hey, Wednesday at 2:40.
Well, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and there is an early game tonight.
No doubt. I like it. So we're starting to drinking early. It in brief, relative to an entire career, it was a season. And I'm looking at his game log that year, and he played great. And you look at how he played. He was consistent, he was impactful, and he got into the playoffs, and he helped you win a championship. And since then, he hasn't been that guy. So do you want to keep shoveling good money after bad, or do you get to a point where you realize that it's time to cut bait? Because the player that he was, and this is now going back almost 2 full years, it's about 19 months ago when you won an NBA championship. Since then, he's not been that player. He came back. He was okay at the start of the next year.
The numbers tell you he's the exact same player.
No.
Yeah, they do.
The numbers this year?
No, last year.
No.
Last year before he left.
Well, whatever. That's a 32-game sample. And all I'm talking about is since he went away, what has he been? Well, and that's a whole year. It's 82 games worth of NBA.
It is.
And he has stunk.
But you characterize...
So that's what I look at.
But you're characterizing the Andrew Wiggins good as this thing that happened for like 2 months in 2022, and the guy's been a Warrior since 2019, and I'm looking at the numbers, and they've been pretty awesome the whole time.
Except for...
this year.
The past full calendar year from now, 11 months.
Right, but he didn't play. When he played last year prior to leaving, exact same guy he was the year before.
But that's prior to him leaving. And that's a year from now. So you want to hold on to the past? No, I don't. I want to move on.
Okay, but you're
get a player who can actually come in and play.
The actual data will suggest that the small sample is now, not then.
What's a bigger sample than a small sample?
4 years of playing really good basketball with the Warriors that people liked.
Right.
Was he awesome every night? No. Was he frustrating sometimes? Sure. His first year here, he averaged 19.4 points per game. Look at the numbers. His field goal percentage is even.
That was
across the board.
4 years ago.
Yeah, and then 3 years ago, and then 2 years ago, and then 1 year ago.
And then where are we?
Good.
And now awful.
Right. But
so you want to hold on to the past, and I don't.
I'm trying to tell you, you're characterizing his good play as a very small sample, and it's not accurate.
I'm characterizing his good play as a thing of the past.
His horrible play is a very small sample, and I'd like to know if what he did for 4 years here can still be accessed.
I'm characterizing his, quote, horrible play as the last 69 games of his career, and that being the new Andrew Wiggins.
Even that. You said he was good in the playoffs last year, and he was.
He was fine.
Yeah. It's really just been this year.
Well, it was the second half of last year when he was unavailable.
He wasn't there. He didn't play at all.
This year, he's become mostly unavailable. His playing time has been decreased and diminished based on not a lack of health.
I'm totally aware of what's going on this year.
Right.
What frustrates me is that we're rewriting history.
We're not rewriting history
Andrew
at all.
Wiggins, no, I hear it all the time, not just you. I hear it all the time. Andrew Wiggins was really good for 3 months in 2022. Outside of that, disappointing. False. Like flatly false. Was very well liked by this fan base going into the championship year. Was an unbelievable key part of a championship, was an all-star, then came back the next year, was playing absolutely the exact same basketball for half the season prior or after the championship, and then something went sideways with his family, and I don't know where he went, but the guy I know and the guy I watched is gone. And we've now all decided that this is him. And you might be right, and I might be wrong, but I'm not convinced yet that at 28 years old, this player who was strong for 4 years here and won a title and was an all-star is now just shot a year and a half before his 30th birthday. I don't understand what happened, and I feel like we've accepted this poor play as just defining, maybe a little bit too quick. That's all I'm saying. We're talking about 32 basketball games.
Right.
In a 5+ year career here.
Doesn't matter about the previous years.
Yeah, well, I think
to
it
me.
does.
I mean, you can lean on the past if you want. I look at the present, and I look at the pattern of minutes decreasing and a situation where he can't play with Jonathan Kuminga, according to his coach. And I look at a situation where you've got a former All-Star, a one-time All-Star, who's now been relegated to the bench based on general ineffectiveness and a laissez-faire approach to basketball. And that, to me, is alarming for a team that is desperate for exactly what he used to bring. For his first 4 years here, what he brought was wing defense and scoring and some authoritative play at times. And now you can't even get on the court for whatever reason, and he's perfectly healthy. Yeah. And you mentioned all the numbers, and look at the minutes that he used to play. He's always been between 32 and 36 minutes a game. Now he's averaging 26 minutes a game, and he's coming off back-to-back games where he couldn't crack 20 minutes, and he wasn't in foul trouble. He's not committing fouls. He's not defending. He's not looking to score. He's not doing anything.
I can't argue any of that. What I can argue is that is a relatively small sample when compared with the player we've known for 5 years, and I'm really hesitant to take a 28-year-old who's done good, not great, good things, maybe not up to his draft status, but was nothing but a positive force on the Warriors for 4 years. And 32 games into it, we've decided there's absolutely no chance that this turns back around and goes the other way, even though we see that happen in sports all the time. People have bad years for God knows why. I don't know why. A 300 hitter hits 230, and then he comes back the next year and he's 300 hitter again. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I'm not one of these reporters who knows what this family thing was. I got no idea. Stephen A. Smith on with Steiny and Goo earlier today. E-Dog was in for Goo. But, this is the continuation of that little clip. When, you like Wiggins? No. Well, listen to the rest of what he said. You like Wiggins?
No. Never have. I mean, go back to it. He deserves a lot of props and a lot of credit for what he was able to do in the playoffs and in the finals. He was a candidate for MVP in the finals. He was absolutely spectacular. I really, really was pleased with what he was doing. But prior to that, I even said at one time you couldn't give him away for a bag of cookies. It wasn't about his skill set. We all know he can play. It's that fire. Sometimes it's there. Far more often, it's not. And I remember last year where, guys within the organization had to educate me and tell me to calm down a little bit because I knew he was having family issues, and God bless him and his family. You certainly don't wish anything to go wrong in that regard. And I'm certainly not going to get specific because that's his business, even though I heard details about what transpired. But my position was, well, you have a job. And I understand you have to be at home, but in the same breath, I'm sure you leave home to make sure that check is cashed, unless you hop on a laptop to make sure it's in your bank account. You're getting paid, okay? If you take the money with such ease, then you should go to work with a level of ease as well, as opposed to missing chunks of the season, even if it is for personal problems. We all got personal issues. Stuff happens. It's a death in the family, of course. Somebody disabled, you got to take care of them, of course. But for you just not to be in the mood to go to work because this family ailment that's going on that's preoccupying your mind, well, most people in this world don't get to make those kind of decisions. It's perfectly understandable if they can't play. But if you can play and you're accepting the check, try not to take so much damn time off. That's my position.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. Like, again, I'm not going to tell anybody that you shouldn't be frustrated with Andrew, can't have an opinion on Andrew. I'm asking, are you truly sure that you're ready to give up? Because if you trade him right now, and we talk about this all the time. It's kind of like the Wiseman thing.
Right.
When you end up at a point where you're like, okay, 5 second-round draft picks.
And they won that deal.
You're right. They totally did. But by the same token, it's trading someone at their absolute lowest valued moment. Not usually great business. It's not usually great business. So maybe he's never going to be good again. That would surprise me. He'll always have a measure of frustration to his game because we look at the talent that he has and we go, there's more juice in that orange. And I agree with people when they say that, totally. But he's been accepted here the whole time. He has been roundly accepted. And now, in what is relatively, in his Warriors career, an incredibly small sample of, admittedly, very poor performance, we're ready to write in ink that he's never going to be good again. And I'm not there. I hesitate on that big time.
Well, we'll see if they are there, and they've got 29 days till the deadline to decide if they are there. And I would push back on the idea that he is at his absolute lowest. He's not at his absolute lowest, right?
In terms of value? You don't think so?
No. His absolute lowest, I think, was when he wasn't playing at all. That's when his value was even lower, when he wasn't playing because of his family situation. And Stephen A. Smith saying in that cut that he's got some details, or he's got sources that have given him details as to what the absence was about. And what I hear Stephen A. say, without saying it, is it had nothing to do with his father's medical situation.
Agreed.
We don't know if that's true or not, but that is the prevailing rumor as to why Wiggins has been unavailable.
It's up on 95.7 The Game on Twitter if you want to vote. Has the Andrew Wiggins Warriors experience run its course? Yes or no? Those are your two options. I'm pretty sure that yes is going to win that vote. But I'm very interested in the conversation. Let's go to Daniel in Indiana. Hey, Daniel, you're on with Willard and Dibs.
Hey, guys. I just wanted to offer perspective on a different perspective, or maybe just a perspective on three things. One, what happened with Wiggins. Two, why Wiggins and Kuminga can't play together. And the last thing is what happened with Kuminga in that Pistons game. The first thing is Wiggins' mental state wasn't right when he came into the season. He didn't prepare coming into the season for a season. And Jonathan Kuminga put in a lot of work in that offseason to improve. I think he closed the gap. And it made it really difficult with a rusty guy coming in, competing for minutes with a guy who had put in work and kind of moved himself along. So I think that's what happened is that for the reason why that leads right into why they can't play together. Because now I think that if you look in these games when they are side by side, it makes so much more sense to kick the ball over to Kuminga or whatever. But I think that Wiggins he's finally built back up physically, but emotionally and mentally, he's scared that he's going to lose that position. So he's not playing ball with the guy that's sitting right next to him.
That's interesting because he's already lost it, Daniel. How can you be scared about losing something you don't have? He's on the bench.
But the point is that up until now, he's been fighting for his position to get his position back while Kuminga had done the work. He closed the gap. The players are very, very similar. I think in answer to your question, is it the right call that Andrew Wiggins has lost it? No, I don't think it's the right call. I think it's the right.
Your phone's crapping out. I'd love to listen to more, Daniel. I think it's a good call. The offseason preparation, Jonathan put a lot of his stuff on social media. So we have the perception that Jonathan worked really hard in the offseason and Andrew did not. And I don't know that. I have no idea what the hell they did in the offseason.
Sure.
I know Andrew also went into the offseason with a pretty significant injury.
Right.
I don't know how that affected his preparation.
You just look at
I don't know, man.
you just look at how they've played, and Andrew Wiggins has had very few games where he's looked like the Andrew Wiggins from his All-Star year. The majority of his games, he's been kind of adrift and either disinterested or just out of sorts. Maybe it's the injury, maybe it's the off-the-court thing, but I look at nearly half a season, and I don't look at it as a small sample. And I do think that it comes down to how you do over the next 14 games between now and the All-Star break. And if you go into the break and you're 4 games below 500 as a team, then maybe it's a non-starter in terms of making a trade to try to get better, to make a push this year. Maybe if you find yourself still as the 11th seed, which is where they are right now, maybe you don't make any move at all. Or you go the other way, and all of a sudden you're the 8 or the 9, and Andrew still is playing like this. Then you decide that maybe you do make a move at that point.
Well, what if I asked you the question this way? Because it does feel to me like there are kind of 4 options. If we're going to go on the premise that Kuminga and Wiggins are not playing well together, and you've decided that that's not fixable, and you're also thinking there is going to be some sort of a deal going toward the deadline, what if I threw it to you this way in terms of willingness or what you would want to do? You can trade Wiggins. You can trade Kuminga. You could trade both. Or you could trade neither. What's the attractiveness order there for you?
Attractiveness from the Warriors standpoint?
Yes.
It's trade Wiggins. I think it's trade Wiggins. And you want to keep Kuminga because you believe in his upside and you've got him under more team control than you do Andrew Wiggins. And I think you look at Andrew Wiggins and you think, maybe you've already gotten the best of Andrew Wiggins. He helped you win a championship. And since last year in February, when he took that leave of absence, he came back in the playoffs and played all right. And then this year he came in and he's not played well. So maybe you look at that deal and you go, geez, we got 2.5 years plus a player option, 3.5 more years of a disinterested Andrew Wiggins. To me, that's the number one choice. Trade Andrew Wiggins.